Hi guys, this is Daryl with Inda-Gro, and this morning we're here in San Diego at our in-house gardens, and I've got Giovanni. Giovanni, what's happening?
Good.
Let's tell us a little bit about what we have going here on the outdoor plants.
Okay, well what we have here is pretty much plants that we had in the greenhouse that we got too big or we had to move out. We got some Sweet 100 tomatoes here. We got some squash here, zucchinis actually. We have different varieties of tomatoes, some indigenous tomatoes, strawberries, rosemary. We actually got corn on the back over there.
Those are doing pretty good. What's the soil mix?
Basically we got topsoil mixed with cocoa fiber.
And what do we have climbing through the fence here?
We got another zucchini.
Okay.
We got more zucchinis there.
And a lot of this water is coming right off the drip system from our aquaponic tanks. So that's where it's getting its nutrients.
That's correct. Come on in.
Speaking of the aquaponics in the greenhouse, so this is about week 2 now where we've really kind of converted our DWC system to this current culture 35-gallon tote. It's called a UC Pro 4. Just before we get to that, tell us a little bit on the left here, Gio. What do we got?
Well, we've been having 115 plus temperatures inside this greenhouse. So keeping everything alive has been a challenge, especially with the fish. The water temperature ain't up in the fish, but we've put a chiller in so we managed to keep the water temperature at an adequate level. As you can see, some of these strawberries have been stressing because of the temperatures. They seem to be doing a little worse off than most of the plants.
But our last strawberry run was really good.
This whole tray was full. I mean, it was beautiful. These are actually runners that we took off of the old plants.
Every one.
Every single one of them have been runners. Some are doing better than others, as you can see. But it's doing okay for us. I think they're going to recover fine.
Now, from the last garden, what have we done differently? I notice now you got a bell siphon in.
We got a bell siphon.
So what is that doing for us?
Basically, it's ebb and flowing our media bed. That's allowing oxygen back into the media bed.
All right.
Which is a wicking bed system. And if you look over here on your right, we have basils. Actually, I harvested these yesterday. They're about yay tall here. They're 12 inches taller. I harvested them, and overnight we've got some more blooms. We've got some more fruit sets coming on. And same thing here. These are smaller, newer basils, and those have been doing good. We got those as little baby plants since we didn't seed, and those have been taking off. Those have grown quite a bit.
What is also different is the Coco coir. So tell us a little bit about how that's working.
Yeah, this is the Coco coir that's different from everything we've ever used before. It's got a very, very low salt content. It's an inert media. It's lightly charged with calcium, phosphorus, potassium, iron. Because of the way it's been washed with a river water it's high in calcium, and we've noticed that these things they root so well in this.
Can you show us the roots on one that's maybe not going to hurt it?
These have been in there for a couple days, and see, here
beautiful.
We go. Yeah, these have only been in there for about 3-4 days.
So the idea with these 8-inch pots is, and those pots have a little mound in them too. I guess that gives it a little more stability.
Yeah, you can see there's a little mound in there. It gives you a little separation between the water and the actual media. Because we are using cocoa fiber, you don't want this to constantly be in the water.
Like we had before.
Basically, what we want to do is we want a wicking action, and we're getting that. I mean, you can see the results. I mean, 4 days worth of transplant. You know, there it is.
Yeah, those roots look really good.
Nice and healthy.
And those are relatively mature basils. We've had those now
we've had for about going on 5 months.
Yeah.
And
just keep trimming them back.
The bottom parts are getting a little hardy, which people don't really care for. But what I've been doing is I've been just constantly harvesting the top and the top and the top, because we use it for my gardens. You know, I just made pesto last night because of all that stuff.
Now you have some peppers going here too.
Yeah, we got some peppers. They were struggling. We had these outside and indoor, and they were just basically they all died.
But we have new growth here.
Yeah, this is all new growth. I mean, they're not pretty or anything, but they're not doing too bad. Look at this one. This one's fully recovered here.
Oh yeah.
They're all a little on the weird side, but they're going to manage. They're going to live. I mean, there's bell peppers. You know, we got bell peppers on it.
So before we go totally to the back, I noticed with 300-gallon tank here, and then we come over here to our 200-gallon tank, which is essentially an epicenter at this point.
It basically becomes our sump tank.
And then there's also a pump in each tank that runs water up into these media beds. And then after that, it all gets pulled from this epicenter tank, if you will.
It's gravity fed.
Which is good for a place we can quarantine fish, possibly, or use it as a staging area for when we don't want to mix the carnivorous and the vegetarian fishes.
Yes, that's exactly right. Also, when I treat the tanks with our aqua elements, I use it in the sump, so it doesn't directly hit the fish.
Okay.
So you don't want any stressing on the fish.
Now, other than the fish waste, you said aquaponic elements. What's the advantage of using aquaponic elements?
Replaces or replenishes all your trace elements and micronutrients.
Okay.
It's a powdered form, and you treat it. We have them in tea bags. You treat it. You put the tea bag in there, and you let it dissolve. And within 4 hours, you got a full micronutrients and trace elements. We noticed that our bricks levels have gone up quite a bit, about 3 or 4 points since we added the mineral rock or aqua elements. And the basil has taken off. Everything just seems to be a lot healthier, overall healthier, more aggressive rooting.
So there's not enough of those micronutrients in the fish waste.
Right. So a lot of the times the aquaponic systems are lacking the trace elements and micronutrients. Also, with the thing is that it lacks this calcium, and our aqua elements replaces calcium.
So
small amounts of iron also, which is usually short in aquaponic systems.
So as we're going through here, I see the water then gets plumbed back into these DWC.
Yes, the water essentially starts with this tank. It goes down here, and it gravity feeds into this tank. And then this tank here feeds our 4 UC Pro systems.
And back here we have our hops, I see.
We got hops back here. People said it couldn't be done.
Well, these had been really well established before.
Before we moved them into this system here. So now they're starting to bounce back. A lot of people said it couldn't be done in aquaponics. They said it couldn't be done in DWC. And as you can see, it's being done now.
Really no reason to use the Coco coir on this one, so you don't have the wicking system here because of the large root structure.
Right. Yeah, you're going to get roots from the bottom there. You're going to have your roots being fed from the bottom.
And then here we
got some habaneros. So we got 2 habaneros here, and then we have chile de arbos right here. Over here.
When were these put in?
These were put in the same day those basils, so they've been here about 4 days.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's any rooting there.
But we do have new growth.
We definitely have new growth. No rooting yet, but again, in 4 days, we've gotten quite a bit of growth there. Over here, we got tomatoes, different varieties of tomatoes. On the left, we have the beef steaks. We're going to let those climb there. We're going to make those, they're indeterminate, so we'll let those climb. And then we have some Roma tomatoes and Better Boy tomatoes here. So we got Romas, Better Boys, and we have 4 beef steak tomatoes.
So, to be honest with you, I was surprised because we had an 8-bucket system in here before, but the reason I know this takes up less room, it's wider, but we have more area to walk around now.
Yes, it's a much better built system. We gotta give it to the people down at Current Culture, Daniel. They designed a great system. I mean, it really is top-notch system.
So, what are we doing to introduce air? We've got a compressor down here.
Yeah, you got an air pump there that's being distributed through manifolds, and each system here has a actual ring down on
soaker
ring down at the bottom.
Ooh, look at those roots.
Which introduces, look, 4 days worth of roots. I mean, it's amazing. We have had, so that's basically telling us that our aquaponic system's in check. Everything's in checks and balances, so everything's working out. The growth is we're seeing growth every day, so that's a positive thing.
And in these temperatures, that's amazing.
And we're seeing 100 plus. Yesterday, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we were at 115 degrees.
So a little bit different than what we typically see with a DWC system where all the tanks are in series. We do have a manifold in the back which gives us an equal amount of nutrient-rich water to each of these totes.
Yeah, it has more of an even distribution as far as water goes.
And then pulls it back and in.
Yeah, and I'll show you the only pump we're using in this whole system there. We're using a Mag Drive 700. It's a 700 gallon per hour pump.
So we're getting about 2 turnovers an hour.
About 2 to 2.5.
Well, in the 35s, we're probably getting closer to 4.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But as you can see, we have this whole greenhouse running on 1 pump. So if you ever did have a power outage or whatever, a small generator, just a small generator can do it.
Okay.
Can power up this whole greenhouse and keep it going.
Okay, so speaking of power, we've talked about the pumps, the lighting. So going back to what we've always had here, we have our ADR controller, and that ADR controller is setting a existing micromole level of 1350 micromoles. That's from the sun, but we've had at 9 in the morning, we've had 5 moles reach the sensor up at the apex of the greenhouse, and we've already got 8 moles set at the canopy. And with that being said, our value of 40 moles per day, we're getting it every single day with a minimum amount of investment from the lighting, but at least it's a repeatable value.
Yeah, well, that's why we're having great growth. Basically they're meeting their DLI.
And there's our main sensor there.
That is our main sensor there. That tells us, that'll show you how much sun is in the greenhouse, and the controller will work accordingly to that.
So we have the pontoon with this one because you have fruiting and flowering with the strawberries.
I got strawberries here. Again, they're not ready to flower yet. They're just now starting to grow. These have been in here about a week and a half or so. Again, these were runners. These were just runners like these here. We took them, we rooted them, we removed them from the runner, and then we planted them in our Coco coir. And they really root very, very well in that. And look at that. A week and a half, 2 weeks of growth.
In 100-degree weather.
Well, look at it. Look, why don't you take a shot at our temperature gauge there? It's 94.3 degrees at 9 o'clock just before 9 o'clock in the morning.
Now, compared to other Coco coir, you've ran BioBiz and some other brands.
Yeah,
have you seen a difference in yields or plant quality?
Yes, I actually have seen a higher yield. I've seen about 20%, 25% yield increase. Using the same nutrients.
And what do you attribute that to?
I think it's just has a better capillary action.
Because it's
more fibrous.
Fibrous, yeah.
But I think it's more not just the fibers. I think it's just the composition of the Coco coir. It's clean. There's very low salt. It's lightly charged. Most of the mediums you buy, they're inert. They're completely inert. So when you start off the plant, you have to start adding nutrients to them. But what I noticed about this, a 55-45 ratio of pith to fiber is really what does it. I think that it holds enough moisture, but it allows enough air into the media to have happy roots. And happy roots mean more fruits. So
instead of soil, going all Coco coir is an option. And then how often would you replace the Coco coir? What's its life expectancy before it disintegrates?
People say that the fiber can last 5 years and the pith can last 10 years. I would say it's probably wise to replace it every year and a half. So it can be reused as many times as you use it. You just have to wash it out. It will tend to hold some of the solids in there, but other than that, you just wash it out and let it dry and reuse it.
Okay.
You don't even have to let it dry out; you just reuse it. I'm on my 3rd or 4th turn already using them in my home in a planter bed. I got a 1 foot tall by 24 by 48 planter bed, and this is my 4th year going on that Coco. So
nice.
Now, sorry, 4th turn on my Coco.
What I've seen in the plumeria is kind of astonishing.
Oh, yeah,
do you care to show us that?
Watch your step there. Let me show you back here the plumerias. These were transplanted about 2 to 3 weeks ago. They were in soil.
They're typically a finicky plant.
Yeah, they're a very finicky plant. When we got these 2 in, they were just a little bit larger than that. They have more leaf than that. But this one struggled a little bit, but it's making a comeback. It's actually new growth.
They like a lot of sun.
They like a lot of sun.
Wow, this one's really astonishing.
This one was the size of that one about 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay.
So you can see the growth difference. And this is all in that Coco coir we're talking about. And I'll pull out a little bit here so you guys can see it. So basically what we have, oops, I pulled out some of the roots. Look at those strong, healthy roots. But basically, look at it's like a pillow. It's like a mulch, compost type of a filling. It's not soil. Doesn't compact.
It retains water.
It retains water down below.
And nutrients.
But what I like about this is that the top inch of your plant material is always going to be dry. See, as you can see here, the top is always dry.
Right.
It builds like a coat type of looking. It's almost like an inch that we pulled out there.
Yeah.
So basically what that's going to do, it's not going to allow moisture into the top, which gives you stem rot and help aid in creating powdery mildew and all that. Most of the gardeners know that you want the top of your soil to be dry so you don't have any problems with your plants.
And we're buying this by the metric ton because we love it.
Because we love it. We use it. We won't sell anything we don't use and we don't believe it.
Yep. So we're currently bagging it for retail, but if you're a wholesaler or a more commercial crop guys, then contact us, and you need to get this in your inventory.
It's the cleanest, lowest salt content cocoa that I've seen on the market, and I've used an array of them. I mean, I don't know if I should get into the names, but
that's all right. People know.
I used at least
we put
8 or 10 different types of cocoa.
Well, we put the chemical analysis on our products page for this, and that's the difference. Look at the chemical analysis, and you'll see that it's 1/4 or 1% salinity.
Right.
That's why we like it for our
2.25% salt content. I've tested other cocos out there, and they're all over 2%.
I keep seeing the Kohler power system sign. So how does that come into play in our greenhouse?
I'm glad you asked that, because what we do is we have a backup generator system here that in case power was to fail, we have a standby generator that'll click on within 30 seconds of it sensing a electrical failure.
And that's it in the background.
That's our transfer switch there. What that does is that once it senses that there's no power to the system, that'll kick on, and supply power to the greenhouse. And then when the power comes on, it senses that, shuts down the generator, and puts you back on the city grid.
And they're so quiet.
They're very quiet.
They have an exercise cycle. This one runs on natural gas, but you can get them for propane, diesel.
Propane, diesel, natural gas.
And we'll hook you up there too.
Oh,
our background is a Kohler distributor dealer. We service all Kohler products, and one of the things I can tell you is it's one of the most reliable and quietest generators on the market.
Definitely.
And the money, it's not too expensive.
No,
so
we have the whole system here. So if we were to lose power, we're okay.
14,000 watts of backup.
14,000 watts. We're not running much.
No.
We got a greenhouse fan that draws about 250 watts or 200 watts, and then we got a pump.
Well, we're under 2,000 watts based on our estimates.
Definitely. We got a few water submersible pumps running, but we're definitely under 2,000 watts.
Well, we're using the sun for primary lighting, and year-round crop production is definitely going to mean that wintertime you're going to have more lighting. Your loads are going to go up a little bit more for those months. But if you want year-round crop production, you have to factor supplemental lighting.
Yeah, the temperatures change, so we might not have all our fans running. We'll just have a few for air circulation.
Okay.
Water temperatures are going to go lower, so we might not need the chiller. The only thing we'll have to run is our 2 submersible pumps, or our 1 submersible pump, our external pump, and basically a fan and the lights.
Okay.
So we're still under 2,000 watts. We'll be closer to about 1,200 watts.
Well, thank you guys for joining us, and Gio, thank you for sharing your farm with us. We'll give you regular updates, but since our last run, our tomatoes went over 20 foot tall in this greenhouse.
I don't know if people seen them, but we had them come over here. They went up and over, and once they got to here, there wasn't much we could do. So we just prayed for them, and we got a great run out of those. Yeah. They're off in a better place.
All right, thanks for showing it with us, and everybody, thanks for stopping in.
Catch you next time.